Good afternoon, everyone. We are here today. We're going to do the same PD we did last week, titled Universal Tools, Designated Supports, and Accommodations in TOMS. So, just as a reminder, we are recording, and please hold all of your questions to the end so that we can get everything done, and then we can answer your specific questions and concerns.
All right, and if you haven't already, please go ahead and open two tabs, Pathways and TOMS, and be ready to log into both. Because we're going to go over a little bit of information first, and then we're actually going to have you guys compare side by side your Pathways TOMS tab and then the TOMS testing tab for some of your students who will be testing. So welcome to CASP testing season. We have three goals for today's PD. Goal one is to review the resources and planning that are available to you as you plan out your testing season. We've got Debbie's fantastic monthly checkoff sheets, and we have the Canvas modules, which have a testing section, but then they also have a CASP and TOMS specific section of modules for you to look at with some step-by-step instructions. Goal two is accessibility and supports, universal tools, designated supports, and accommodations. Those are three different categories of supports for our testing students. And then there's embedded versus non-embedded. And what does that mean? Goal three is pathways and TOMS. And again, comparing those side by side to make sure that the TOMS tab and pathways, which holds the designated supports and accommodations, matches TOMS, because TOMS is how those supports and accommodations are delivered to your student during the test. So we need to make sure that that data syncs, that you check that it's synced so that your students have all of the tools in place that they need when it comes time for them to test. And then because we want to keep this brief, we have a read-only section that talks about training sessions versus practice sessions, how to hold your training session, what you can do with your students during your training session, test scheduling best practices, test logging in, troubleshooting, a sneak preview at part two, which we will be presenting April 15th at your IA meetings, or probably afterwards like before. And then an exit survey. And the exit survey is really helpful to us because it lets us know, if there's any areas where you still would like to see some support, and asks a little bit of information about the read-only slides. So if you already completed that last week, you don't need to complete it again unless you want to. But if you did not have a chance to complete that exit survey, if you could do that this week, today, that would be great.
Okay, for resources and planning. Just want to make sure that everybody's aware that I do have monthly checkoff sheets for testing. That does include LPAC, PFT, assessments, STAR, iReady, and CASP. So make sure that you are checking those. I do have it condensed to one link, and then over on the left-hand side, I have it broken down by month. So it's just a one-stop shop so that you guys can see, possibly if you missed anything, you can you don't have to search for that link. You can just go to the previous months and then try to find something. And then Shannon does have her wonderful Canvas modules, and those are super helpful. You can go and find a topic that you might want to refresh your brain on and just walk through, and she has screenshots and everything else on that. We do have the CAST website, which is another great resource. And then Eric was kind enough to mention and plug the Testing Tech Help Zoom chat that was created last year. And within that Zoom chat, there are tabs up on the top that have frequently asked questions, or I don't want to say concerns or problems, but reoccurring issues that we have found. And Muzamel was very kind enough to put all those at the top of the tab. So you can search by those if you're having an issue instead of just trying to put in the chat. Maybe it was something that was already answered. And then we do have our student assessment accessibility document. And I know it's a mouthful, but I didn't know what else to call it because it's literally that's what it's titled from the state. So you will be getting this training module after we leave. We'll have it emailed out, or it was emailed out last week also. But you can have this document and it gives you exactly what each of those accessibility accommodations, designated supports, it is broken down by category. And then I did put a little key up at the top in the red because people were asking me what does the different letters mean in that first column for delivery. So I put it right at the top for you so that you can understand where those come from. On the second tab of that document, I've added videos for you. So if you want individual universal tool videos, those are all listed there. And if for some reason you get an error on the link, I keep double checking them and the state keeps removing some or redoing some. These are all straight from the state. If you find an error, please let me know so that I can update this document accordingly. But this will give you, Shannon, can you scroll down for a little? Oh, you designated supports. It even gives you accommodations. So it gives you exactly a video from the state of what these things are and what you can expect. Okay.
Okay. So accessibility and supports. So it takes a little time to wrap our heads around the universal tools, the designated supports, and the accommodations. And at the bottom, I linked what Elisa Avila calls the bento boxes. And these are, oops, that's not what was supposed to happen. I apologize. Whoa. Um,
You went way to the end.
yeah, I think I clicked, yeah. Is it gonna let me select ELA? Okay, there we go. So these are tools that CASP put together to help clarify what's a tool, what's a support, and what is a special education or 504 accommodation. And so this one specifically is for English language arts. Universal tools are here. Designated supports are here. And as you can see, these are resources available to all students. And when those are available to students, we'll talk about in a moment. It doesn't necessarily mean that anything you see there and those in under designated supports is something that you'll be able to offer your student. It just means that your particular student, it just means that those are what can be offered to students who use those. Remember that at the bottom, these are specifically, accommodations are specifically available to students with an individualized education program, an IEP, or a 504. So I really think these are helpful because they really give you an at a glance. It helped me organize my brain as to the three different categories. So the links to all three of those are down here for ELA, math, and then the CAST. But universal tools are available to everyone. The embedded tools are accessed in the test interface itself. An example of that would be mark for review, right? You know that when you're going through one of the CASP tests, your student puts in an answer they're not 100% sure about, but they want to move on to the next one, they can mark it for review. A non-embedded tool would be something that is HST provided, scratch paper, breaks, allowing your student to take a break. Designated supports, that's when we have to start adding some things into pathways. Again, designated supports, as we saw in the bento box, those are graphic. Those are available to all students, not just special ed or 504 students. They do need to be selected and added into pathways in order to be accessed for test taking. But here's the really important part. They must be supports that the student is already using regularly in their schooling. We can't just go through and check off things that we think would help our students during testing if it's not something that they're already using. Because we want to make sure we're not giving them any unfair advantage, right? If you are going to mark off any designated supports, and this is what we're going to be practicing here in a bit. So we're just kind of clarifying the differences between the three tools, supports, and accommodations right now. I think it'll become more real when we do the screen by screen comparison. The HST selects the supports and pathways by Thursday of each week. Debbie does her sync at the end of the week, and then those supports are available for students during their test by the following week. So, but you do want to make sure you get those, those supports in as early as you can because you want to be able to double check that and make sure that those did in fact sync over because they can be in pathways, but that does not mean that they're in TOMS, and TOMS is where they need to be for them to be delivered on testing day. Accommodations. So accommodations, again, are for SPED and 504 students. The case manager will add those to pathways. You do not have you don't add them. The SPED case manager will update pathways, or they may even update TOMS directly. And you'll see that when you go ahead and you compare the two screens.
Can I just interject? Just so Pathways does not talk to Toms. That's why I pull reports every single week. But if they are a 50, if they do have a SPED and an IEP, then all of that information during your IEP is put into the SACE program. I do have a bridge between SACE and TOMS, and they talk nightly. So that's why you guys don't need to worry about entering or modifying or changing or doing anything with accommodations. You just want to make sure that they are the same with what SACE has told TOMS that is in Pathways, that it mirrors that.
Thank you for
Sorry.
clarifying. Nope,
Thank
nope.
you.
Thanks for clarifying. I appreciate it. For recent IEPs, allow a week. If you just had an IEP and you don't see anything, you know, allow a little time. And then if some more time goes by and you still don't see anything, you could reach out to your case manager. The HST still needs to verify that the Pathways TOMS tab and the TOMS testing page match. So if it is that SACE got updated, but Pathway is not, we do want to make sure that those mirror each other. So if you see that situation, then reach out to your case manager and just let them know that Pathways needs to show those accommodations as well.
And CC myself, please.
There you go. And then another thing, Debbie was getting some error messages because there are students who have exited their IEP or their 504, but they still have accommodations and pathways. As an HST, you can remove those accommodations and pathways. So if your student does not have an IEP anymore, they do not have a 504 plan, they are not eligible for special education accommodations, please make sure you remove those from pathways. And all you do is, and we can even show you, there's a drop down and you just select
Default.
default.
Mhm.
And once you refresh your screen, it will remove it.
Not refresh, you have to click save.
Save, and then, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Oop. All right.
All right, embedded versus non-embedded. It's all of these things just keep rolling around, and I know we're trying to paint a very clear picture. So embedded means it appears within the testing interface. So when the student logs in to the secure browser by using their first name and their SSID number, everything that you have added to that that would be embedded will show up because it is linked to their SSID number. So, for example, sometimes the system will allow calculators. The line reader is there, the zoom in, zoom out. That is within the computer program. Non-embedded means it's not within the computer program. It needs to be provided by an HST or the parent. Non-embedded means is provided by HST parent, such as breaks, scratch paper. Now I know this through people last time. The graph paper is new this year, and only sixth graders and above can get it. Not everyone. So it's sixth grade and above gets graph paper for their math, and then separate setting, etc. That's all non-embedded. So if you do hover over, like this picture down here, if you hover over the titles in Pathways TOMS tab on the student dashboard, it will tell you exactly where it is, if it's embedded, non-embedded, how it is presented to the student. So that's how you can tell if you have a question on that. And then also on that lovely student assessment accessibility document, which is always a mouthful to say.
That's this document right here.
Mhm.
We just linked it in there again because that's where when you're hovering over one, if it doesn't give you quite enough information, you can come back to this document and you can search for it. It has a search function, which
Mhm.
is nice. If you do Control F, you can search for scratch paper.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Or you can consult your IA. You can do that too. They're always a resource.
So pathways and TOMS, checking tools, supports, and accommodations. So what we want to make sure as HSTs that we do is to open up, and this is why we had you at the beginning of our PD here, open up pathways and then open up TOMS. We compare the TOMS tab in the student dashboard
So
to
let's
the
walk
TOMS.
them through that
Yep.
really quick, how to
Okay.
get there. So
Yep.
you're going to log into Pathways. You're going to choose one of your students. So you'll land on their dashboard. You'll go to the top. Do you want me to mirror this?
Yeah. Do you want me to show the split screen? Oops. Let me
Well,
stop
we
sharing
can
for a
in a minute.
second.
I just
Okay.
wanted to get them there. Let me share really quick just to get them. Sorry, guys, bear with me. Okay, so I am here on my student's dashboard. Up in this top section here, you're going to find the TOMS tab. You're going to click on TOMS. If you
Debbie,
do not,
you're not sharing your screen,
I'm not
right?
sharing. Thank you for letting
Yeah.
me know. Okay, do you want me to go back? Okay, here's my roster. Click on the student to land on their dashboard. Up at the top here, you're going to find the TOMS tab, and that's what you're going to click. Now, if you do not see the blue boxes and the green boxes down here on the right hand, on the left hand side, if you're landing and this is what it looks like, you're not in advanced mode. You need to go down here at the bottom left and you need to click advanced mode so that you can see all of the individual boxes. This is where you can hover over. You can see that Braille is the embedded. I don't know how that would work. Um, all of the different things so that you can just hover over them that way. Sorry, Shannon, I just want to make sure that we were able to get to this page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me stop sharing so that you can take that back. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So let's show, is this when we should show our split screen, do you
Yeah,
think? Yeah, so
we found a trick.
we did find a cool
Yes.
trick. I don't know if I can do it while I'm screen sharing though. So let me try. I'm going to try to do it. And you guys, this
You
might,
did. You
okay.
did when we were practicing it.
Okay, good. You guys might already know this and not think that it's as cool of a trick as we do, but we were pretty impressed. So we wanted to be able to show you a side-by-side view of Tom's, like Debbie showed you, the Tom's tab of a particular student, and then also the Tom's website view of that particular student. So you can very easily compare any supports or accommodations that student might have. So if you're on a PC, in order to do that, you go to the window that you're going to use and you do the window and the left arrow.
With the window button on your
Yep.
keyboard and then the
And
left
the
arrow.
and let's see if it's going to work. It worked earlier. There we go.
Okay.
So now when I scroll through, I can see that I can see this student's accommodations, right, and supports. And then
You're going to go up to your TOMS tab.
go to the TOMS tab. And did I drag it first or no? I did the same thing, right?
I think you drag it over to the blank area or.
Yeah, because otherwise it just, okay,
Mhm.
so now we have that one. So let me go back over here.
So now you just have to drag it to that blank space.
Yeah, let's see if it's gonna, there we go. Oop, but now it has that one open. We don't want that one. There we go. Okay, so now let me just log back into Tom's really quickly. Let me make this one bigger. Okay. And oh, sorry, it logged me out, so I'm gonna have to log my student back in here real quick. So when you do, if you haven't done this in a while, when you go into Tom's and you want to look up a student, to search for a student in the Tom's website, you need their SSID number.
Their last name works fine too.
Does it? You don't have to put them all in? That's
I
good to
usually
know.
just search by last name.
Oops. Okay, that's good to know. Um, I'll put it in just because I'm here, and in the interest of time, I don't. Okay. Then I scroll down, whoops, sorry, my toolbar's in the way. I scroll down to magnifying glass for actions, and there is a module in Canvas for you that shows all the screenshots of this. So don't feel like you have to memorize what I'm doing right now. And then I want to go to test settings. And here we can see, and this is nice, they put it in the same order. We have accommodations in pathways, accommodations in TOMS. Now this student, as I can see at the top, this student does not have an IEP. They do not have a 504. So I should not see any accommodations checked off because he is not eligible for those. So when I check pathways and I check TOMS, there is nothing checked off for him for special ed accommodations, right? But then I can go through and I can see that he does have some supports because he is a gen ed student, and he does use some of these supports day to day in his schooling. And so because he uses them daily, he is eligible to receive them with his testing as a gen ed student. So embedded designated supports, you can see there are a couple checked off. So now I want to go down in TOMS to embedded designated supports. I'll try and make the windows match a little bit better. He has Streamline and text to speech. So here's Streamline, and you can see that these boxes are checked off. And then you can also see, if I can scroll over, I know it's here because I saw it earlier. I can tell that when Debbie did a sync last Friday, on Friday the 13th, these weren't in here last week because when I had just put them in, she did her sync on Friday the 13th, and that's why they're in here now. So he now has Streamline and text to speech, so that when I start him on testing bright and early on, that first day of testing, he's going to have those available to him in his test. Now these are non-embedded, so keep in mind these are things that I need to provide, or his parent needs to provide, right? We still want to make sure that they appear in here, but again, non-embedded means they are not in the test interface itself. So we need to make sure, of course, he has a nice quiet separate area to take the test, that he has some noise buffers. And if I'm not sure what that means, like what is he allowed to use? Again, I can hover over, it'll remind me, separate setting, it will remind me. And then if I have more questions after that, I can certainly consult that lengthy document that we've pulled up for you a couple times. Or if I'm unsure about whether or not I'm offering a non-embedded designated support in the right way, I can always check in with my IA. You can reach out to, to Debbie or myself. You can ask us, afterwards today. So we just wanted to show you side by side how to compare for each student. And, in just a few minutes after we turn off the recording, we're going to have, you'll all have the opportunity to do that too. So let me go back to.
I think that lands us on our last slide.
Yep, let me kind of get my screen back here. It's always fun when you have to do it, when you're being recorded and when you're doing a presentation. Okay, let's just do this. Okay.
So go back to the previous one, because I think that had the question and answer, and then it also had the survey. There it is.
Yep.
Oop, too much.
This is the last one, and then we have this one. This one?
Yeah, so there's where the link for the exit survey is, and then beyond this page is the read-only slides. That you do have a couple that your exit survey does refer to for some of the questions. So make sure you read them before you do your exit survey.
Yep, and then we gave you a sneak peek for April's. just in case you're like, I still have these questions. I mean, you're more than welcome to ask us about them. Or if you want to get ahead and kind of review these things before April 15th, these are the things we'll be discussing on April 15th. So
All
here, let
right.
me get out.
So I'm going to go ahead and
Yep, I'm
stop
gonna stop
recording.
sharing.